welcome to another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me as always is new Mike L, Kevin Jank.
I'm here, but I would like to be known by my new name, Uncle Bubble.
Uncle Bubble, all right. That'll work. Oh, we have a special guest this week. It is, I believe he's making his 5th appearance on the show. He hasn't been here in a while, but it's my personal attorney, spiritual advisor, Tuffy.
I didn't know I was supposed to pull a quote here.
Yeah, you didn't have to. Don't worry. It's all right. But Tuffy is also with us on the LCS Hockey Radio show there. And whenever I get in trouble with the law, Tuffy comes to defend me. But Tuffy, I believe we were talking before the show, this is your 5th appearance. I believe you were our very first guest on Flea Market Fantasy way back in year 1. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you were, because you did that Star Wars issue with me and Mike L, in which the term space hookers was used quite a bit. And then I believe you did a Superman, Kickers Inc., and Peacemaker. So this will be your 5th time. You haven't been here in a while. I always feel bad about bugging people to come on the show, and I know you're not a comic book guy, so I appreciate you coming on to join us for this.
Yeah, I managed to find a hole in my schedule to fit this in.
He's very busy. Very busy. In your honor, Tuffy, we selected a very special issue.
Yeah.
Today we will be reading Blue Devil, issue 9 from 1985. Tuffy, have you ever heard of Blue Devil?
No, I have not. I have not heard of anybody involved in this issue.
Yeah, there's one person I heard of in this issue. Yeah, Jank, again, you have no knowledge of Blue Devil, correct?
No, you sprung this on us last week. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I'd literally never heard of this character. Not even like, a passing reference here and there. Nothing.
This was a Mike Dell pick?
File my
comic?
I know. I picked a DC because cousin Pete was on last week, and he's a DC guy. So I said, you know what, Pete, in your honor, I want to pick Blue Devil. So I like to learn. This show is it's infotainment. You know, we try to learn. Mm-hmm. And I don't know anything about Blue Devil, so I'm like, all right, let's read some Blue Devil. Let's see what happens. So let's learn about Blue Devil. But before we get into the issue, let's just remind everybody, if you're watching us on the YouTubes, like and subscribe. Up to 79 subscribers, Jank. 79.
Woo-hoo. Leaps and bounds over last week, so.
The flea army is growing. It is growing.
America's got fleas.
That's right. So please join the movement. All right. So Blue Devil was created by Dan MIshkin, Gary Cohn, and Paris Cullins. It took 3 people to create Blue Devil. And the writing team of Cohn and MIshkin, we've talked about them before on the show. Jank, you weren't part of this, but do these names mean anything to you?
Nope, not at all.
Well, they also created a little something called Amethyst Princess of Gemworld.
Oh, yeah, Mike L's favorite.
Mike L loved. So, we go back to listen to that episode if you want to hear about these guys. But basically, they're like junior high school buddies who grew up and wrote comic books together. So that's pretty cool.
That's a heartwarming story.
Yeah. Steve Ditko was hanging around the DC offices looking for a project, and these 2 fellows, they heard that, and they're like, holy hell, Steve Ditko. All right, let's pitch something for Ditko. So they decided they're going to create a character that combined all their favorite things from various Marvel characters. They said, hey, you know what? Let's have a hero with a suit, like Iron Man. And let's make him like jump around and like be cracking jokes like Spider-Man. And let's have a name kind of like the Green Goblin. So that's how Blue Devil was born. And they said, oh, Ditko's going to love this. So they made this big proposal for him, and they got their editor to give it to Ditko. And Ditko says, yeah, I'll do it if I have to, but this isn't really my kind of thing. So they were heartbroken.
He made the right call.
So then they showed it to an artist named Paris Cullins. We'll talk about him later. And that's how the creative team came together, and they came up with good old Blue Devil. And Blue Devil, the character, his name is Daniel Cassidy. His first appearance was in a special insert in Fury of Firestorm, issue 24 from June of 1984. And then he got his own series with issue 1 also dated that same month. And that's the series we're reading here today. And it ran for 31 issues and 1 annual. And the backstory of the character is that Daniel Cassidy was working in Hollywood as a stuntman and special effects artist when he developed a Blue Devil costume for a movie by the same name. The costume is actually an exoskeleton that enhances Cassidy's strength and agility, enabling him to perform better stunts and whatnot. But while he was filming the movie on location, the two co-stars, and this is like an Indiana Jones ripoff, and like the Harrison Ford guy is the star, and the Blue Devil is just like the creature that he has to fight in it or whatever.
The guy that gets shot, does all the sword work, and then just gets shot.
Yeah. So they're on location filming this movie, and the Indiana Jones ripoff guy and the lead actress, a foxy blonde named Sharon, who we encounter in this issue, they visit an ancient temple and accidentally free a demon named Neberos. And Cassidy is sweet on this Sharon, so he tries to save the day, and Neberos thinks Cassidy's a real demon because he's in the costume, and he tries to suck out all the demon juice out of him or whatever.
You have to pay a guy under a bridge $15 for that.
But in doing that, the costume becomes melded to Cassidy's body, so he can't take the costume off anymore. It becomes like enchanted or whatever. I don't know, however you want to say it. The whole series is basically him trying to figure out a way to how to get out of the costume, but then he becomes like a reluctant superhero along the way. You know?
Very reluctant.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like he gives a crap.
No, he really doesn't want to be it. And he joined the Justice League in Justice League America issue 98 in 1995.
Oh so boy, they were really reaching. That must have been when Superman was still dead.
Also in that same year, there was a 3-issue series called Underworld Unleashes, where Cassidy makes a pact with the demon Neron, a different demon, and that makes him an actual demon. So It's a pretty convoluted story. But the demon promises him fame and fortune, you know, in the movies. In order to make the pact binding contract, he has to destroy something. So the demon tells him, hey, you know what? Go destroy this abandoned power plant. And he's like, all right, I'll do that. It's an abandoned power plant. It's no big deal. So he goes and does it. But when he destroys the power plant, little does he know that he has a sidekick, a little kid called, I don't know, I think Gopher is his nickname in here. And it's not Short Round, no. And that guy, that little kid, his aunt, is like a movie producer and a script writer on the movie that he was originally in when he became Blue Devil. Anyway, that lady happens to accidentally get murdered when he destroys that power plant through a chain of events. So he gets very bitter about it, and he vows to destroy that demon Neron. But then, like, he dies, and then he's resurrected. But when he's resurrected, he's now an actual demon, no longer a costume. He's a demon through and through.
That's one of Mike L's favorite things, is when people have like a name or a certain set of abilities that are not natural, but then years later they all of a sudden get those same powers.
So then he joined a team called Shadow Pact, which I'd never heard of, and they're basically the Justice League for the paranormal. But some other members on this team, Ragman, who
I've heard of him.
I almost picked a book of Ragman.
About picking that. Yeah, same.
But also on this team, Detective Chimp.
Yeah, I was just hearing about him yesterday. I was like, we need to get that going.
I tried to get. He has no real appearances during the 70s or 80s.
Bronze Age. Yeah. What about Sam Simeon? There's like another Detective Chimp guy.
Oh,
in DC.
I don't know.
Apparently, there's two of them.
I may not be aware of him. Like, there is kind of a Detective Chimp appearance in the 70s, but he's not really in a Sherlock Holmes outfit. He's just a monkey. And so yeah, it's a little weird
story. He's still just a regular chimp.
Yeah, kind of. So anyway, that's the backstory there to old Blue Devil. Tuffy, how do you feel about Blue Devil now that you know more about the character? You probably love him now, right?
Yeah. I mean, I had done a little research reading this comic because it was like, I don't know what is happening here. Yeah, and then I read the letters to the editor in the back of this issue to get a little more context.
That's good thinking. I did not do that.
Yeah, I should have done that, but I was so stuck with not caring.
They drew the covers for issues 2 and 3 before they knew what was going in the comics because he had his trident in the covers, but his trident had been stolen in the storyline.
Yeah, good point there, Tuffy. When he got, like, when they locked that demon, the first demon in issue 1 that escaped, they locked him back into the ancient ruins there. And I guess his trident, the Blue Devil's trident, got locked in with him. So then I don't think he gets the trident back until issue 4.
Yeah, but he still has it in the covers of issues 2 and 3.
A little mix up there.
Yeah.
And the trident is like rocket powered. It can fly and it can carry up to 20 people. I don't know how you can get 20 people onto that trident, but
I love that between this and Mysterio, like movie stunt people are our greatest scientists, apparently.
I know. They're amazing. So, all right, that's Blue Devil. There are a couple other characters in this book we should mention. The main, he's a villain usually, but in here he's not a villain. But the other character is a fellow named Trickster.
Yeah.
I believe his real name is Giovanni Giuseppe, but he was working as an acrobat in a circus, and his performer name was James Jesse, the old reverse of Jesse James. And his first appearance was The Flash, 113, 1960, created by John Broome and Carmine Infantino. And he basically was just an acrobat who decided to become a criminal, and he invented shoes that let him walk on air. And he used the weapons like exploding teddy bears and other dangerous gags and gadgets. He's like a dime store Joker, basically.
Yeah.
So he is.
A lot less scary. But it makes sense who they had play him in the old Flash TV show and the new Flash TV show.
Yeah, in the 1990 Flash TV show, Jack, tell him who played the Trickster.
Mark Hamill played the Trickster.
Yeah, how you feel about that, Tuffy?
Joker.
Your beloved Luke Skywalker. And then they brought him back for the newer Flash as well?
Yeah, same character. Yeah. It was the only time they really did that, I think, where somebody played the same character on the 90s show. Like, they did have John Wesley Shipp play his dad on the new TV show, so they kind of brought him in, but yeah, he was still playing the same character. Pretty great.
All right, the main villain in this book is a fellow named Bolt. His real name is Larry Bolatinsky. He first appeared in Blue Devil 6, 1984, created by Gary Cohn, Dan MIshkin, and Paris Cullins. And he is also a special effects artist and assassin. These special effects guys, keep an eye on them.
Yes.
So, all right, I think that's all I've got on Blue Devil. And I guess we might look at the cover there, Jank.
Yeah. It's a strange cover. Not going to say I was a huge fan.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of this. Did we read the same one?
Hopefully. So we got the DC up in the upper left corner, the little circle. Again, like the book we did last week, the corner box is kind of in the other side, kind of very small. We got Blue Devil, kind of in, I don't know, I guess a font that's somewhat reminiscent of X-Men, where it's got the silhouette kind of things behind it, but not really as 3D.
But my complaint with this would be that it's Blue Devil, but the title's in white and red. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why make it in blue?
Literally no blue.
Like a light blue over a dark blue, maybe. Yeah. But,
yep.
All right.
Because it's got a pop on this issue, so. And then we get a shot of a construction site. It says the end of the Trickster saga. Oh yes, it ends with a great big bang. Kind of in the middle of the construction site, we got Blue Devil and Bolt kind of going at it. Blue Devil's face looks really bad. Like, they didn't look like they tried on that at all. But he's got his trident, and he's going for a good stabbing. And Bolt's kind of got his, Kirby crackle in his hands, crackling away. And the Trickster's is kind of floating in the air a little bit, like upside down. Kind of like George McFly in Back to the Future Part 2, where he was stuck floating upside down the whole time.
Because notice he only has one flying shoe on, and then he has one Chuck Taylor on. So I guess it's throwing him out of balance. So.
Whoops.
Yeah.
And we got some onlookers. There's one guy waving in the background.
Yeah, I like this. It's a hero fighting a villain. They're going at it right on the cover. I'm a fan of this cover. But you thought it's weird.
Yeah, I didn't buy the art. It's not the concept of these guys going at it that I didn't like. It's the art itself.
Wow, just taking a shot at Paris Cullins. All right. Hey, we should mention Paris Cullins did the cover. He did not draw the interiors. He drew the first 6 issues interiors, and then he just did the covers for, I think, the remainder of the run. The artist here is Ernie Colon.
Oh,
we've encountered him before. Do you remember?
Yeah, Power Pack.
That's right.
Drawing of that kid with the weird smile.
Power Pack 53, where Typhoid Mary seduces a 12-year-old.
It was our hardest mission ever.
In more ways than one. All right, so Tuffy, what do you think of this cover?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a comic book cover to me.
Yeah, I like it.
I don't have the experience to have the connoisseur's opinion like you and Kevin Jank over there, but
yeah, I'm a fan of it.
You give two guys in costumes fighting each other.
Yeah, you give me a cover with 2 guys punching each other, I'm in. And hey, when you open up the book, the splash page here, we have a Blue Devil there. That's what I thought the Blue Devil should look like on the cover. It's like light blue with, see that? Yeah. Cover that title blue. Come on. What are we doing?
Look at.
Yeah. So, all right, Jank, where do we open here? What's going on?
Oh boy. We talked last week about, there's a lot going on in that Green Lantern issue, but I praised the writing because I was able to follow it completely the whole time.
Oh,
this one, not so much. I mean, I guess I followed it, but then like the jokes they were trying to do and not pulling off distracted from what was happening. So I don't know. It was rough. The Bolt he's tracking down Blue Devil, and then they're driving in a car, and he's shooting at him, trying to catch up to him.
Hey, maybe we should, before we go further, Jack, maybe for those not watching on the YouTubes, we should describe what Blue Devil looks like, because he looks like a Blue Devil. Sure. But maybe break down his costume for the people.
He kind of looks like Mr. Clean if he was blue and had devil horns.
Yeah, white devil horns sticking out of his forehead.
And like little, those little chin insect mandibles coming out of his chin.
Like a little goatee. I don't know what you
call that hair.
Yeah.
It's not a goatee.
It's a beard of some sort.
Got devil horn beard type thing going on down there. But he's got the big old hoop earring in one ear. Yeah. He's got kind of a Iron Fist like vest with the big flared collar and open chest.
Yeah, and it's like dark blue, and then he's got like yellow cuffs on his wrists and a big yellow belt.
Underpants.
Yeah. Hey, Tuffy, if you're a superhero, would you wear this outfit?
No.
But it looks good on him, though, right? I mean,
good.
It's not bad. I guess when he became the devil or the actual demon later on, they just put him in like a t-shirt and slacks. That was his outfit.
That would make more sense.
Interesting.
And if this was just something that got fused on, I don't know why it would have the big fancy, almost singlet-looking clothing that he's wearing here.
Well, yeah, this costume, this is for a movie, so he's like supposed to be a demon in a movie, like.
Yeah, not a lot of demons wear singlets.
I don't remember Uncle Impy wearing a singlet.
Yeah, Uncle Impy is the man. All right, and Bolt wears like a black outfit with a skull on the chest and a lightning bolt behind it, and he's got a little like lightning bolt coming out of his eyes too, like I don't know. The glass is made of lightning bolts, kind of. And he can basically shoot lightning bolts. That's not bad.
Basically, he's just a ripoff of the Punisher, it looks like, with the big skull on the chest, the black outfit. It's impossible not to associate this with the Punisher.
But, I mean, he flies.
Yeah, they described Blue Devil inspiration as rip off a bunch of Marvel characters. Maybe that's what led him to the Bolt character, too.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a completely different kind of character, though,
I mean, you claim that, Jerry Conway ripped off the Punisher to begin with. Someone's just ripping off the Punisher now, so this is like 4 ways down the line.
Multiplicity, the copy of a copy of a copy. All right, so now let's get back to the story there, Jank. So Bolt's flying above, and he's shooting his bolts down at Blue Devil. Sharon is driving the car. Sharon's the foxy blonde movie actress who Daniel Cassidy was sweet on. But she kind of liked the main Harrison Ford Indiana Jones guy. So, but I guess at this point, if she's riding along with him, she must be into Daniel Cassidy at this point, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I guess so. Apparently, having to wear a costume is what makes her hot.
And they're driving around in a convertible, and Trickster's in the back seat.
Yeah, this is where I get my favorite part of the issue, where I thought at this point I didn't realize this was a Trickster, and I thought he was actually just calling himself Uncle Bubble, like that was his name. I'm like, this is my favorite character ever. Yeah, he gets out like a little bubble wand and, lets a bunch of bubbles glow, and he says, if I know the Trickster, them things are loaded, but I guess Bolt kind of shoots one of his bolts at him, and they just kind of pop like those little snap things you throw on the ground on the 4th of July.
Yeah, I guess they're supposed to be like little grenades going up into the air, but Bolt just gets rid of them all with one bolt.
Because everybody's watching the bubbles up there getting popped, and Sharon just drives the car straight off a cliff.
Yeah, this Sharon, she may not be the best driver of cars. I don't know.
Yep.
And the incompetence kind of continues here because, Blue Devil has that trident that has rocket powers. He can use it to hold him up, except the trident just flies away on its own.
Yeah, I don't know if this was because maybe when it got locked in that ancient ruin or whatever, like it became enchanted, because it seems to just work on its own throughout the issue. It also seems it like shoots lasers too at some point, right?
Yeah,
this trident's pretty good.
Strange.
So yeah, the car falls off this enormous cliff, but luckily they survive because Trickster, he's got them flying shoes. Oh, he has a flying one shoe. One shoe fell off.
Yep.
So
yeah, this will come up again later in things that don't make sense.
But that's a nice little splash page there. This art reminds me of, when I was reading it, I was like, this reminds me like when I was a kid reading, because it's kind of cartoony, exaggerate. This reminds me like Richie Rich and Hot Stuff. Do you remember that?
Yeah, especially with the devil horns. Yeah, I can see that.
Like that kind of art style. And then when I was reading up on it, Ernie Colon drew for Harvey Comics, and he drew Richie Rich and Hot Stuff. And he got Paris Cullins a job there too, and he was drawing Richie Rich and Hot Stuff. So Trickster only has one shoe. He's struggling trying to keep up Sharon and the Blue Devil, you know. So the Blue Devil does like a flippy stuff like Spider-Man, and he goes in and he lands on a ledge of a cliff on the opposite side of a ravine.
I watch a lot of American Ninja Warrior. That's a lache.
Oh, wow, look at that. It's a technical term. So that allows Trickster to land with Sharon, and then the trident comes down and almost hits Trickster in the butt, but it like hits his cape a little bit.
Scrapes him, in the arm, it looks like. Look, his shoulder is kind of exposed now.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Hey, the Trickster, he wears like vertical striped orange and black pants.
They're very
boots,
funny.
A blue cape, and he's a blonde-haired fella. So they survived, though.
Yeah, a little garish, I guess you'd call that.
But they didn't die. They survived, thank God. So now we cut over
Trickster is carrying this whole book, so you gotta
Uncle
keep
Bubbles. It's Uncle Bubbles.
Yep, Uncle Bubble.
So now we cut back to Bolt, not Black Bolt, even though he's dressed in black and his Bolt.
Yeah. And he does like shoot bolts out of his mouth.
So I was trying to find a picture of him, you know, for the video we're making, and it's like, do a Google search, nothing but Black Bolt pops up. So, but no. Looking for Bolt. And Bolt's apparently working with some scientists. And these scientists are working on a top secret project. And they needed something from the Trickster. Like the Trickster has that technology to make him fly, you know, and from his boots. And I guess they wanted that technology.
Yep.
And Trickster tricked him, though. Like he said he'd sell it to him, and then he didn't, I think, is what started all this. So then Bolt was hunting him down. So now he's talking to these scientists, and he says, hey, I did find one of his shoes, you know, in the wreckage. Yeah. And the scientists are like, hey, we need one of them shoes. That's really handy that you found that, you know.
That's all we really wanted all along anyway.
Yeah. But then once Bolt disappears, because he can just like teleport away, something the Punisher can't do. And the guys are like, you know, hey, perhaps we should be worried about Bolt. More worried about Bolt than some superhero. If he ever learns the truth, he mustn't. We must never give him cause to doubt us. Why do you think they're so worried about him learning the truth?
I don't know, because he seems like a villain. Yeah. And they're villains.
Yeah. I don't think Bolt would have minded, really, you know?
I'm guessing that truth is what we find out later, is that they're just the three of them, that there is no big two.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking more like what they were trying to do exactly. But yeah, I guess they did lie to Bolt about being a giant corporation or something and it's actually just these three guys.
Yeah.
And that's it. All right. So Tuffy, now we cut to a hotel. And look, there's a dog sleeping on a wall there. How about that? Like water beds, movies, no pets. And we see Blue Devil and Trickster. We see their feet there. Trickster only has the one shoe. And they're just talking about stuff, you know, and we see Sharon going for a swim. This Sharon's pretty foxy. And what happens here, Tuffy?
Well, she's really been enthused by watching Olympic diving, so she's working on her dives. But as she hits the diving board, there's an earthquake, and all the water splashes out of the pool.
Yeah.
And she's just hanging onto the edge of the, 3-foot diving board above the 6-foot deep pool.
Yeah, it wasn't really that dangerous, but yeah.
The devil has to rescue her. And, the Trickster here makes a nice little quip of thrilling rescue. She might have sprained her ankle there.
Exactly right.
I think the same thing. He said it.
But then Blue Devil grabs Trickster, and he's like, hey, you better tell me what's going on here, you know? So what does Trickster do here? Janky explains this. I was working for the super secret criminal organization.
It's a new outfit. Still doesn't have a name, but they've got a neat plan. They want to secede California from the USA by separating it from the mainland. With earthquakes, that'd killed tens of millions of people. Exactly why they rejected that option. No, actually, they wanted to levitate the whole state using the anti-gravity gimmick that powers my shoes. Great idea, huh? I don't know how they thought that's going to work. Like, that's going to kill as many people, I would think.
Well,
separate it.
Or do they mean like they're just levitating it a few feet, so because it's not connected, it's no longer part of the United States? Is that what the plan? Or
Yeah,
they mean they're going to levitate it like way up high? It's a little weird. But hey, you got to have a plan. It's better to have a plan than no plan. So they have a plan.
Yeah. It's certainly original. I'll give it that much.
And I guess the trickster, though, like, he just absconded with the technology without giving it to them, and he took their money, so now they want their money back. So that's why they got Bolt, and that's how Blue Devil got into this big mess. So now we cut back to the movie studio, and this is where they're filming the Blue Devil movie, and we see some guy, I don't know who he is. I guess he's a movie production fella. And then we see that little kid. I think they call him Gopher, but his real name I can't remember. But this little kid, later on, he becomes Kid Devil.
Whoa.
Yeah, they make him a little suit, too, like the Blue Devil, and he becomes his sidekick, Kid Devil.
After he became a demon?
This is pre-demon.
Hanging out with him.
Yeah, this is pre-demon. But the little kid suit isn't bonded to him through magic. It's just a suit, I guess. But he's a red devil, though. Kid Devil. And I guess he's still around as like a character in DC.
Probably been on Injustice or one of those stupid teens.
So what's the point of this scene here? He's talking about found a journal or something?
Yeah, it doesn't pay off at all in this issue, so I don't know. Without knowing the whole context of the story, it's hard to say. They found a journal, some college papers. It's all about how people act when they become superheroes. And they're like, oh yeah, that must be great, huh?
So maybe this is planting the seed that he's gonna, when he becomes Kid Devil, there
you go.
He's studying up on how to become a superhero. Oh, but he found a note. Remember us, we remember you. You played false, but we were true. You think it's over, it's far from through. Yeah, I don't know what any of this is about. So, all right, anyway. There's something going on at the movie set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so now we cut back to the scientists, and what are they building, Tuffy?
A giant shoe. Really big shoe.
A really big shoe. And it's a curled slipper like the Iron Sheik. That's the kind of thing like the Trickster wears. A big blue curled toe slipper. Because they're going to fly around in it. It's going to be their base of operations, I guess, this flying shoe. The Trickster built a little gadget that can track down the technology in his flying shoe. So they're driving through the city there. Again, they let Sharon drive. Questionable decision.
Yeah, they didn't learn their lesson. Yeah. Once you go off one cliff, shame on me.
But they're driving through the city. They track down the missing shoe. They hear beep, beep, beep. Blue Devil jumps out of the convertible, and he goes busting through the door. And there are the three scientists. But the one scientist hits an anti-gravity thing, and Blue Devil and Trickster start floating in the air. Trickster's like, well, it looks localized. So once we break the little sphere of influence here, we should be all right. So Blue Devil says, all right, I know how we can get out of this. He grabs Trickster and just chucks him at the doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right in the bowl.
And then old Trickster, he goes and reclaims his missing shoe. He rips it out of the machine or whatever. And the doctors are all mad. Bolt tries to get Trickster.
Blue Devil's like all mad that like he fell on his ass. But what did you expect? Like what? There's no like, put this on slow motion. It's either you're levitating or you're not.
Yeah, Trickster turned off the anti-gravity thing, so Blue Devil falls on his butt, and he's very upset. It seemed like that was the plan, though. You throw the Trickster there to turn things off, and then you come down. That's pretty much the plan. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So Tuffy then, Bolt tries to get Trickster. Trickster jumps out of the way, and then he gets shot in the back by Blue Devil with his trident.
Yes, indeed. And then he sees the writing on the wall, realizes he's losing the fight, and tells the scientists, like, hey, call in the goons. This is a big corporation. Let's get the army.
And
that's
the
when
scientists
they reveal...
Yeah, well, we don't have really an army of security. It's just us. Yeah, it's just us. And so he's mad at them, and Blue Devil wants to go grab him, and Trickster trips him. And he says, hey, I want to hear this explanation of what's going on. So Blue Devil's mad at Trickster again. But when they hear about them arguing about that stuff, then Blue Devil just walks over and punches Bolt. Bolt tries to bolt up Blue Devil.
This is for being a Punisher ripoff.
And he shoots a bolt at Blue Devil, who jumps out of the way. And we see Sharon outside in the car looking nervous. And then we hear a big rumble because the scientist guy pushes a button. There's a big rumble. And out from the building lifts a giant curled slipper.
Yep.
So what happens here, Jack?
It up, and they're like, all right, we're going to, levitate California, but it's not powerful enough to do that. It can only lift like a very small section of it. Although if we learn anything from, Age of Ultron, even just a small section that you drop it back to Earth, that's going to mess things up.
That's bad. Right. I forgot all about that. Yeah. Sokovia, right? Is that Sokovia?
Yeah. So they're floating it up, but they can't get very high. It's kind of struggling. But then the Trickster says, here's where it gets confusing. Don't worry, Cassidy, it can't possibly work. The shoe provides a lot of initial lift, but that's already eased. That's why the peninsula has floated back down. The shoe just can't handle all that weight. That's fine and dandy, so why are we still rising? You smart boys stick around and figure it out. This is Bolt kind of getting in there. Y'all ain't ever gonna stop rising, and that's my cue too. Never stop rising. What's he mean by that? Well, in theory, this shoe provides enough lift to raise itself and a few small objects completely out of the Earth's gravitational field. But the professors will reverse the field when they realize that, won't they? No can do. See, they copied only the Ascension shoe. It's the other one that controls descent. So how did he have he just had the one shoe earlier and he was still able to float. But that was the shoe that controls going down. So how does that make any sense?
Yeah, it really doesn't. Nope. That's a problem. But, so then, Blue Devil, they're hanging on to trees and stuff as they keep floating away. But his trident comes in handy and he grabs the trident and, he grabs Trickster and, Sharon in the car is still floating by. So they all get in the car again, even though it's flying. The scientists there, they try to rescue the scientists beg for forgiveness and they say, hey, come save us.
Yeah, Blue Devil realizes he can use his trident to counteract the lifting force. And then the scientists kind of catch on because they realize, hey, we're getting kind of high up here. They try and reverse it, and then they realize, this doesn't go down.
Yeah, so they jump in the back seat of the convertible, and they go flying towards the water, Tuffy. And then that trident comes in handy again, huh?
Yeah, because the brakes ain't going to do much when you're heading towards the water. And also, the car isn't a Volkswagen. It doesn't float, which I don't know that Volkswagens are known for floating, but I think they're word for it.
Yeah, they believe Volkswagens float. Yeah, that's the important thing.
But the car's still kind of going underwater. So then the Trickster has a little solution for him. He's got his rubber ducky. You just blow in the ear, and presto, there's room for the whole family: mom and dad and buddy and sis.
Yeah, giant rubber ducky. They're all in it now, floating in the water. How does this end exactly? Because Trickster makes a joke about working for a company called
Skull. Going legit. Because, the Blue Devil says, why are you robbing banks when you could just sell all your little gimmicks? And he says, maybe if I dealt with a reputable company like Skull, which I take from context is not a reputable company.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. We need Mike L here. I'm sure he knows. It's probably some.
I wonder if that was the movie effects company that Bolt works for.
Oh,
and then there's a little joke at the end because at the start of the comic they said this one will end with a bang. I think on the cover maybe, and there's a very small panel that just says "bang," the end. See, we promised it'd end with one.
There it is.
Wow.
It ends with a bang. And then the letters page is called "Speak of the Devil." That's not bad.
Yeah.
But there you go.
It's a better ending joke than last week's with the whole. Let me tell you about Nicaragua.
That wasn't too bad. All right, so there it is, Blue Devil. Now, Jank, I picked up from your tone throughout the issue you were not a fan.
Well, let me just say that the Trickster was great. Loved him. Probably all the points I'm going to give it go to the Trickster.
Uncle Bubbles.
Such a good character, yeah. Yeah, I had a good time with him. Sadly, he was not the main star of this book, though. So everybody else, meh. Didn't really do anything for me. There's a lot of clunky dialogue, like especially anytime they were in the car, it was like, what the hell is happening? Why is she going off the cliff? I can't tell. They're fumbling around with this device and I'm not following. It's just like, this is so dumb and I hate this.
Wow. Right.
But, I mean, it did have some good ideas in there. Like the idea of just these three goons, like, propping themselves up so that there's this huge evil organization and like trying to raise California and that being such a stupid idea. There were some good ideas for a story there, but I didn't think the writing here worked at all.
Huh. All right. Not a fan. Tuffy, how'd you feel about the writing?
I thought it was fine, but I have very little context to compare it to other stuff, so.
Yeah, I will say, well, you did read Kickers Inc., Tuffy, so. It's
better than Kickers Inc. I can say that.
But I I admired it for what it was trying to do, because again, this is 1985, and they're trying to be comical. Like there's a comedic tone to all this. I don't know how many comics were doing that back in '85. Were there any?
Definitely not The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, like so. I don't know. I kind of dug that they were trying to. It's almost like Gru, in that kind of a comedic tone of like a Gru kind of book, but not as funny as Gru. But
Yeah, that's the problem. If you try to do comedy but can't, that's the worst.
Well, I don't know if they can't.
That was the problem with Christopher Priest's Deadpool run. It's like, why is this guy on Deadpool? He can't write a joke to save his life.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was lighthearted fun for the most part. But,
yeah.
I kind of like how Blue Devil he really doesn't want to be a superhero. You can kind of, he just kind of like trapped in this circumstance, and he's just going about his business. But he looks like a giant blue devil. And so I didn't mind that. I like Sharon, She's good looking. So, I don't know.
Not much of a driver, but.
No, not a terrible driver. But, so I don't know. I liked what they were trying to do. Like, may not have been overly successful with it, but I still appreciate it. Jank, what about the art here, Ernie Colon? I mentioned earlier, it reminded me of Richie Rich and Hot Stuff. It has that cartoony, like, kid, goofy comic book kind of feel to it,
Yeah, I could definitely see why they got him for Power Pack. It's, a more kid's book. It makes sense to get a guy like Ernie Colon on there. I thought
he just did that one issue of Power Pack, though. That was the only one he did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They just brought him in for the Typhoid Mary seducing a 12-year-old. And then, all right, you got to go. But I think
Green Lantern.
His style fits this tone of book, though, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I got no issues with that. I'm not going to say it's my favorite, but I thought it was, okay.
Yeah, you wouldn't want this on like a Punisher or something like that, or Daredevil. But I think it works good for this kind of book. And I don't think Ernie Colon stayed on here. I think they bounced around different artists after Cullins left. But Tuffy, what'd you think of the art?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like a comic book.
It looked like a comic book.
There's things like, again, better than Pickers Inc.
Oh man, you're so mad about Pickers Inc.
Yeah, it looks good.
It's a goofy cartoon style, but yeah, as long as you
stand out, but it was fine.
Yeah, as long as you don't mind the cartoony kind of style, this is fine, But so there you go. All right. I did have some more research here about Cohn and MIshkin wrote 29 of the 31 Blue Devil issues. Not sure why they missed 2 of them. And I did get some background info on Paris Cullins, because maybe I thought he drew the issue before I read it, and I maybe researched it, and then I realized, oh wait, he didn't draw it actually. It was actually Ernie Colon.
Oh.
Yeah, so
yeah,
worse. So I might as well talk about it since I did the research. But he was born in Philadelphia, so that stinks. Not a fan of that. But in 1976, he started sending samples of his stuff to DC, and he finally met with Dick Giordano in the last week of 1979, and they offered him some work. They said, come back after the first of the year. I got a story for you. And he started out on the anthology Secrets of Haunted House. DC was big on the horror comics. Like
that awesome Elvira issue.
Yeah, and he did some Vampire stories for House of Mystery. That is another title we did here on the show. And he also drew some Weird World Tales, which Mike L. made us read. His first superhero work was an 8-page backup story in Green Lantern 154, 1982. And around this time, artist Ernie Colon got him some extra work at Harvey Comic, drawing Richie Rich and Hot Stuff. His first full-length book he drew for DC was Blue Devil issue 1 in 1984. And then he, like I said, he did the first 6 issues of this, and he kept doing the covers. In 1988, Jank, he did the Evolutionary War backup stories in the Punisher, Silver Surfer, and X-Factor annuals.
Not one of the ones we did, but yeah.
Yeah, we did the Evolutionary War stuff a little bit ago.
Good.
In 1988 and 89, he drew revivals of Jack Kirby's Forever People and the New Gods.
Yeah, that's right.
And then in 1994, he did all 9 issues of Hyperkind. I never heard of it, but I guess it was a imprint that Marvel did. It was created by Clive Barker.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so
I like to read those.
He drew all 9 issues of it. So how about that? So that's all I know about Paris Cullins. But there you go. All right, so Blue Devil. Tuffy, what do you think? Would you read more Blue Devil?
Yeah. It seems
fine. Look at
Wow.
I would, not that I will.
Yeah, but yeah. Again, it's like a light read. It's just a goofy comedic tone there. So what would you give this 1 out of 10, Tuffy?
Like a 7. It's solid.
Look at that. 7 from Tuffy. Big fan of the Blue Devil. Jank? What do you think?
You know what? I think I'm going to give it a 5. I'll throw it right down the middle because I did like the Trickster, and there were some elements where, at least on a bad movies or a bad comic book type scale, it's like, well, there were stupid things that was easy to make fun of, so it's got that. So in that way, it wasn't the worst thing, but I couldn't really recommend to anyone to read this, or would probably ever read it again or read more. It's like there's some elements of good ideas here, but not enough follow through for me to give a crap.
All right, fair enough. I'll go right between the both of you. I'll go 6. A positive recommendation, a slight recommendation. Again, you have to like this kind of book. And a comedic, it could have been funnier, but it has a comedic tone. Not a huge fan of this kind of art, but it works for this title. So I'll give it an affectionate 6, but that's as high as I can go. So there you go, a 5, 6, and 7 across the spectrum. Right. Look at Tuffy being Mr. Positive over here.
Yeah.
Good job, Tuffy.
All that State Fair food.
Yeah, Tuffy's been hitting up the Illinois State Fair all week and eating a bunch of ridiculous foods every day.
Not ridiculous.
You should get blood work each day before you eat because, man, your cholesterol levels are just spiking.
No.
Yeah. Today he ate cheese nuggets. Just a thing of...
Yeah.
That's good. And a pork twister.
Deep fried fat cheese.
All right. Hey, Tuffy, before Jank tells us what we're reading next week, if you ever come back on this show there, we'd like to have you back, Tuffy. It's been too long, It's been too long.
Yeah.
Back on here. But I know you're not a comic book guy, so I feel bad always asking. But if you were to come back and read a book, any suggestions, anything you would like to see us cover in the future that you would like to read? Yeah, don't say Batman, don't say Superman.
Well, what's wrong with those? Those are the best superheroes.
All right, we'll bring you back on for Kickers Inc. All right, so Jank, what are we going to be reading next week?
All right, well, we looked at a Blue Devil this week, so I figured next week we look at some devils of other colors, because we're going to be talking a little bit about the Inferno event over at Marvel Comics. We're going to do Exterminators number 4.
Exterminators.
Final issue of the 4-issue Exterminators limited series.
Now, the Exterminators, they were kind of like Rusty and Skids and that kind of boom and stuff, right? Or is that
Richter. Yeah, the kind of the kids that X Factor had rounded up when they were pretending to be like mutant hunters.
Yeah.
Exterminators. They're secretly like helping them. Yeah.
Do you know the creators on this? Because I had this back in the day. Is this Louis Simonson or no?
Yes, Louis Simonson and John Bogdanov.
Oh, there you go. We did him recently, didn't we?
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, there it is. Yep. Jank with the memory. All right, so there's Exterminators issue 4. What year did you say this was? Probably like 87, 88?
I think this issue came out 89. January of 89, it says. So.
All right, there you go. All right, so that'll be next week on the big show. And again, be sure to like and subscribe on the YouTube. And until next week, don't get any jank on you.